Well, what I've done here is I've modeled up a box, a medieval treasure chest here, and I've done, this is the top of the treasure chest. This guy emailed me this picture of the thing, and it was supposed to be about 10 inches by 10 inches, actually, 10 by 11, something like that. And he emailed me some other pictures of the thing, and what I've done is modeled it up in clay, and then I made rubber molds on the clay. So I'm going to take these individual panels and make them in wax and put them together and make a ceramic shell mold and cast them in bronze. So let's see, what we'll do is, what I did, glued these individual modeled clay pieces down onto some bottom boards here, and then I built up some dams with clay around them, and then I mixed up a 2-part urethane rubber and poured it in and painted over them and built it up to like, 3/4 of an inch thick. So now that was about a couple of days ago. Now the rubber's set up, so we're ready to take the things off and take a look at them. I've got a top piece for the top of the box, and then I've got 2 sidewalls that I'll repeat twice for the box. And then there's like a little ram thing that's sort of part of the latch on the front of it. And then there's a repeating logo of shields and sort of rivets that will go around the edge of the top of the box. When I did this, I did a little drawing of what the side was going to be. And then I put that under plexiglass, and then I modeled this out with plastiline on there. So these are kind of weird little figures, weird little medieval figures. Okay, that's the top of the box. These are going to have to be cleaned up a little bit before we pour the wax in here, but I think they'll probably be okay. Had about 60 hours in modeling these things, and modeling this. This took the most time, and then the other 2 sides took quite a lot of time too. All right. This is the, Attack on the Castle of Love, or Attack on the Church by the World, I think is what it's called. So, there we are. We've got this little creature over here that looked like couldn't tell whether it was a bat or a ram, and I decided since it was on the lock for the door of the box, that it could be a battering ram, so I made it look like a little ram. So, there we have it. We'll pour these things in wax and put them together and see what they look like. First I gotta clean this mess up. Blow these bubbles out of this thing. Well, on this coat it's not gonna, we're just mainly clean it out. Kind of helps pop bubbles and heat up the rubber so the wax will flow in there better. A lot of little bubble catching things on this. Well, we've got these parts cast. We got some good parts done in wax of this box. And I've started to put the edges on the top here. I went ahead and filled in any little minus bubbles we had here in the wax. Most of them. There's still quite a lot of work to do around the edges of these pieces that I put in here. And I filled in a little bit in here with plastic wax, but I have to go in here with a hot tool and straighten this out. Fixing up these edges here where I've wax welded the parts of the box together. Trying to blend in these corners here, get these little masonry lines coming together, getting this looking decent. So I've got an alcohol lamp here and some dental tools, and I'm using a little soldering iron to get in here and melt some of this. This is what I used to weld the thing together too. Wax weld it together. I'm getting this thing screwed up. Got a little lip around the inside of the box here. I've got the box fairly well cleaned up and smooth. I've got these holes cut in the bottom of it, so we'll put bolts through there in the ceramic shell to hold it together. And I've got some other holes here in the corner where these feet will get welded onto the finished bronze. So these will be screwed on, probably on the back of this thing, these little cutouts and these feet. Stick the soldering iron right in there and weld that in. Just let these welds set up a little bit, and then I'll go around and put in some more around it. Another one cut for this side. I'm not going to try to do this all at once. I just put in a little bit, let it cool down, set up. And maybe I'll come back and add a little more wax to it, weld it some more, and come back and check it all out, make sure I don't have any holes in there. You don't want to overwork this stuff. Just weld it a little bit, let it cool down, and come back and do a little bit more on it. Go back and fix up these welds a little bit. These things will get welded onto this sprue here. Like this could be welded on here and then vented off here to the top of the cup. And these little guys can go pretty much all along in here. We've got about 8 of these little things to fit in here. So we'll get those put in here, and we'll put some vents coming up from the corners here up to the top of the cup. And then next we'll go to spruing up the top. I'm going to do, I've got the lid that goes with this box. I've got the inside of it fixed up. And then I've just got a spare lid here. I thought I'd just cast it as just to have around as just a relief. So next thing I'll do is get together another sprue, and I'll start putting some gates on these, and I'll put them back to back. Wrapped it in wire, and he's put clips on these edges. These edges tend to blow out, they tend to rupture and break and run out. And we put bolts and washers through those holes on the bottom to help hold that bottom thing together. And it's got about, I don't know how many layers it's got on here. How many dips has it got? About 10 dips on here, I think. But that's the thickness of the thing. The wax is all gone. The orange is where we put on some fiberglass dipped in some slurry to plug up holes. We had some relief holes on here. I don't think we had any cracks. But, so this is the lid and the extra lid on it. We clipped the edges of that too. Randy has at least. And he's put some extra little reinforcing fiberglass and slurry on there too. So we're gonna pour these this afternoon. Beautiful. The next day, and these things are about 2,000 degrees cooler, and I'm about to bust off the shell. I've got these clips on here, we want to say. I'm wearing a dust mask, because this is all silica, and I don't particularly want to breathe in silica dust. Not good for the bud. I don't really want to whack this thing. Main big chunks. Inside here probably gonna have to sandblast it to get it out. Cut it off. Oh, there we go. Oh, little guy's trying to get into that cast. Well, I got some really hard to get at gates in here that I can get at with a grinder. I cut off the ones that were out here with a straight grinder, but these I can't get at. So I'm going to use my trusty plasma cutter to get in there and do it. And this is like a arc welder with compressed air running through it, so it heats the metal up and blasts it out of the way. I'm going to just go ahead and do that. I'll cut off one here to make sure that it works. And there's another one. We just plasma cut off this so I could get at this to cut it off with a straight grinder here. And this one I have already cut off with a straight grinder. This was the gating system on here, and we had all these little parts. We had the battering ram, and then all these little, these are the feet that are going to get welded on into these areas, and then the plugs that go back into the holes here. Alright, let's sandblast this big box and see what it looks like. Let's sandblast this. Let's sandblast this. The darn thing all blasted. Mostly. There's still a little bit of shell in there. It probably took about half an hour to blast it. It probably needs another half hour. So then I've got to weld these plugs in the bottom here. I've gotten these welded in, these plugs welded in. I haven't finished them down yet. I did on the bottom, but I'm not going to turn it over. I've got the feet on here right now, and I've got them sort of lined up. I put some little magic marks on where they would line up. One of them still had a gate on it, so that one I'm just going to weld it on with the gate. But I've got it sitting on a nice flat table, and it's fairly not rocking. So that's good. So what I'm going to do is just weld these feet on from the inside, and then I won't have to. It's pretty hard to finish anything like that when it's inside like that. Yeah. So I'm going to fire up the. Done is I've taken these leftover State House hinges and chopped up the barrels here into little pieces. Pins here and then weld what's left in there in between the Ooh, success. That's so nice. Things usually don't work out, but okay, so I'm gonna fix these up nice, make them look pretty, and then I'll cut off these hinge pins just into these parts here and kind of weld them in on the ends here and then finish it all down and make it look nice. And then we got to do pretty much the same thing. Here are those other pieces that go with the ram's tail. So they'll go on the ram's tail up here on the front of the box. Like a battering ram, trying to get into the castle of love. Okay, well I have spent about 6 hours on this, finishing it down with cross pads and sanders and wire brushes, and and I washed it off with some detergent to get off any grease that was on there, and then I went over it with some 3M scrubby pads, and then I went over it with some steel wool, and I've been heating it up now with a torch. I've got this little ram thing a little scorched here, it's a little too hot. I think I'm going to have to get a little hotter yet. Pretty hot. The way you can tell when it's about the right temperature is spray on some water, it'll fizz off. So it's pretty hot right now. I got the torch going here. Heat it up a little bit more. And I'm going to put on ferrous nitrate, a little bit of sodium phosphate in it. Sulfate. Spray on a little bit of that. I'm going to do the inside first. Leave it that color. And I'm going to put that on the outside and buff it back a little bit and put on a green oxide wash. It's titanium oxide white. It's got a little bit of chrome oxide in it, which is green, so it's sort of a light green. That's going to go into the lower parts of it, sort of buff that back, and I just put a little more ferrous over the top of that. And we'll let it cool down, we'll lacquer it, and we'll give it a couple of coats of wax. Alright, scorch that rascal. Just basically rusty water with a little bit of nitric acid in it. Nitric acid makes it stick to the bronze. frosty water makes it bronze, or rather rust colored. I'm going to turn on the fan because it's kind of nasty, bad to breathe. You get too hot, it'll go burgundy. That's what happened to the whole ram last thing there. I got a little overheated. Come back and buff this off a little bit too, off the high spots, and we'll come back at it with some more ferric nitrate. Pretty good. Luminous. Old. Mysterious.